It might take a year. It might even take 2 years. But when it pays off, it's going to be great.
So this is your sign. If you're thinking about quitting your job to pursue your business, then take this as your sign. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted. There's a lot of work that comes with it, but it's so much fun. Like, we're both passionate about it. So,
yeah, it excites us. I want to be the best.
That's a great point.
And I don't mind charging the most. Welcome to another episode of Brightside Brews. Here we are again.
So we've talked about how we started our business, but today we're going to talk about what we wish we knew before we started. So our lessons learned. So what's one of the biggest lessons you think we've learned?
We've learned the entire book. Well, something that we did is we roll with the punches and we just learn as we go. We didn't take a lot of advice from a lot of people that knew, so we experimented ourselves.
Learning by doing.
Yes, we did learn by doing. When we first started, as we learned, as we go, we didn't have many systems because we were developing those systems. So it's very important as you go, as you learn, as you know what works and what doesn't work, to document that. Make little checklists, make little SOPs, make pieces of information that detail that. Because you don't want to be doing all the work all the time. You want eventually to have employees, to have a team, to have a group of people to follow all that needs to happen so the business works without.
And so when we started, I mean, we didn't know all of this information, but I would say to start off simple, at least with Excel or something like that. We actually kind of just gravitated towards using different applications to manage our business. So JJ went from texting baristas overnight to for events, like just trying to figure everything out. And then once we onboarded Mariah, our events coordinator, she suggested some apps. Like, there's a few out there we were looked into when we work or something like that. And then ConnectTeam. And then we ended up going with ConnectTeam. So now all of our baristas have schedules and they're able to pick up shifts.
Yeah, we've expanded our network of baristas to have plenty of people to choose the shifts. So people go in the app, then our coordinator will post the shifts and people will fight for the shifts.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, but that's now, I guess now that we've been kind of advanced. When you start off.
5 years.
Yeah.
What other systems have we?
And something that I've worked on within the last year is having like a database of events and kind of keeping all of our internal information in Notion. And so Notion's been really awesome to use. I actually discovered Notion through Ashley, our social media manager. And so we use that database to keep our SOPs, to keep any meeting notes that we have. Our database for all of our events are uploaded there. I mean, there's just a lot of things. Any projects that we have going on. So I'm a project manager full time. So that's why I'm kind of like project oriented.
It stems from you being a project manager that you want to have visibility to how things are at any given point. And that system does allow us to get there. From another angle, our CRM, we first started using Square. And Square is a great system. It just didn't have the user-friendly features that our current system has. Right now we're using 17 Hats, and it's working really good for us at this point where we are. We would love to have other features, but that's...
Yeah, the only thing that 17 Hats lacks is the reporting, like going to look at the reporting.
Well, I come from corporate finance, so as a business person, if you want visibility to your numbers from that angle, I'm sorry, 17 Hats, you have a lot to work on, but that's okay because we extract that information or we have it connected to QuickBooks, and then QuickBooks does provide a very nice visibility to where we are. So that jumping from knowing your systems, we jump to knowing your numbers. So since I come from corporate finance, from very early on, I wanted to see, or I wanted to know where our company was number-wise every step of the way. So it's important to know where have you been, to know where you want to go. If you have that information, if you have your numbers, if you have your sales, if you have your leads, if you have your conversion rate, you can anticipate where you're going to be next month, next year, or whatever. I mean, those are just projections, but so far, the projections that we've been able to set up, to set, or the goals that we've been able to set based on projections have been spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks God we've been able to do great. And it's interesting because in the very early days of a company, of a startup, you will see your company grow a lot because you're used to not selling anything to then selling thousands of dollars, to then tens of thousands of dollars, to then hopefully hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you're really, really good, millions of dollars. But it does not happen overnight. So patience is a big one. And
For sure. And then going with, I guess, the numbers, we started off, I mean, very low as far as like compared to what we charge now. And that's due to, I mean, us just kind of learning by doing. So I think just finding out like what your market, like what other competitors are charging, if you do have competitors in your city, just finding out what they're charging and then trying to price yourself and seeing how you can like stand out and then compete with those other coffee bars as well is something that can be done.
yes, I remember I was going back and forth on setting up a rate or setting or coming up with a recipe to have that perfect number, that perfect rate or whatever. And it wasn't easy because we were all over, because fortunately or unfortunately here in Houston, we have a very wide range of prices. I remember having this thought when we started, and I said, I don't want to be the busiest coffee catering company. I want to be the best.
That's a great point.
And I don't mind charging the most. You didn't like that. You didn't.
No, I was nervous.
Yes, you didn't like having high rate for some reason.
I don't know, because it was just like, oh my gosh, these people are charging this much. Are you sure like we're going to make it? So it was just kind of, I don't know, like, can we do this? But then we can. And that's actually brings another good like lesson.
That perspective did settle me down a little bit, because the numbers that I wanted to charge were Dallas numbers based on another vendors. So that was definitely not a price point that could be super realistic here. But I wanted to do less events and have a higher profit margin. And sometimes ideas like that are okay to implement depending on your market. So you have to investigate your market. You got to kind of test the willingness of clients or of leads to pay for products. And sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not.
Yeah. And that's another lesson, is knowing how to position yourself in the market. So something that I learned in MBA school was, how do you want to position yourself? So do you want to be Whole Foods? Do you want to be HEB? Or do you want to be Walmart? And so all of them make a ton of money. But if you're going to be a low cost business, then you're going to have more events, like you said. But if you're going to charge more, then you might have less events, but then it makes up for it because you're charging more. So you just have to establish like how you want to position yourself, and you can be successful in all, like,
if you do it
ranges.
just right.
Yeah.
Of course, yes. And that's what we learn. We do something really interesting, that is, we are prepared to make an incredible amount of drinks and quick and all on site. Not many vendors are able to do what we do. Actually, I don't think anybody here in Houston is able to provide specialty coffee drinks at the rate that we can.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, whoever wants to challenge us, we're ready.
That would be fun.
That would be so cool.
Throw down
We've been telling
at the warehouse. I know, but we were like, meh, let's just do it internally.
True. Hey, I wanna address the elephant in the room.
What?
You look amazing, and
Oh, I thank you.
I don't. I
It's
forgot
okay.
we were gonna record today. You did tell me, but
They just have to know who the true boss is.
I think they already do. They already do.
It's okay. We're partners. Yeah. So another lesson that we've learned is relationships matter. So I think something that we did was establish relationships. Well, not early on. I think we learned that over time.
No, we did. We did learn these early on. I think we followed Corbin's advice on this one.
True, with the
which is connect with planners, connect with people. And I wasn't too patient. I thought the results were going to be shown immediately. This is one of those things that you got to nourish the relationship. You have to develop it, and eventually will pay off. Our first our first style shoot was in a venue that we do 1 or 2 weddings a month yet these days,
Yeah.
which is the Peach Orchard, which is an amazing venue.
Beautiful
Thank you,
place.
Peach Orchard, for having us every month or more. It's awesome. We just did a wedding there last night.
Yeah.
So,
And that was through Maria, the style shoe.
yes. So Maria coordinated with you, and we brought a bar. We did an event that served a little bit of drinks to the planners and such. And I didn't know what it was. I remember seeing that they're decorating with balloons, and it looked beautiful, but I didn't know. I'm like, okay, are we gonna get events tomorrow?
Mhm.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't until a year from there
Yeah.
that we saw results, and 2 years later we saw even more, and we still use those pictures.
Yeah, we do.
It's great.
And so not only that, I mean, style shoots are a good way of meeting people, getting into like the industry networking events. So we're part of AWP. And so kind of meeting people that way. And then also another thing, I would say don't be afraid, that goes along with building relationships, is to not be afraid to do events for people. Like there's some planners that we do events for because we know that they help us a lot by getting events. We like cater their kids' birthdays or like their grand opening of an event and stuff like that. And I think at first it was kind of like, oh, they're expecting something from us, but it really pays off because you get really good pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then also it's like a favor that you did for them. So we all kind of, and we notice in the industry that you help each other, like vendors are helping vendors.
And it doesn't immediately pay off. That's one of those things. It might take a year. It might even take 2 years. But when it pays off, it's going to be great.
Yeah, they're always going to remember.
Yeah, it's just fun. Also, it's a fun hang because we get invited to some of these parties that we do and have a little bit of fun.
Mhm.
Have a little bit of a coffee date.
Yeah, yeah, it is fun. And thankfully we have the capacity to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we even pay people for them, but we know in the end it's going to pay off.
But when you're first starting, if you don't have events and you could spare some time and a little bit of cost to do things like these, are going to go a long way.
Yeah, open houses or even like getting with planners. And
how many open houses do you think we do a year?
I don't know.
17. I think
Dang.
17 to 20. Those are free events.
I was going to say 5.
And we sell
Maybe 5
way
in
up.
January.
Way up. What's another thing that we've learned?
So probably the physical aspect of the coffee cart business is something that people don't realize. And me, especially as a female, like I have never lifted one of those machines that we have, the lumber circle
Haven't you though? Remember our first markets? Didn't you help me bring down
Oh my God.
the entire bar? We didn't have a ramp, but we had a van.
Yeah.
So we had our cart in our van, and these girls will help me muscle it out.
Yeah.
The entire cart with everything inside. So
Yeah.
I don't think you did. I think you did your fair amount of lifting, girl.
That's true. We would lift. We would lift the entire cart, everything in it, machine, grinder, like everything. Everything.
Yep.
Like all of our cups and stuff. Everything was inside, and we would just,
Yeah.
oh my God. I would turn red from how heavy.
Yeah, you would dread on helping out or unloading, and I will have to give you a little pep talk.
I know,
to-
like, oh my God. At that point, I was just sweating.
But it had
No more.
the mobile industry or these kind of events do have a physical component. So expect that if you're planning to launch a business in this realm.
Yeah. And we do know some other coffee bars that bolt the machine on top, right?
If you're bolting your machine on top of your cart, you definitely need a ramp to bring it down. And that ramp is best if it's bolted to your van so it doesn't give you any issues.
And a high enough vehicle to transport it.
You know what? I wish we would have gotten a high top van or high top vans. I had my head yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
It opened. Give me a kiss.
It opened? No way.
Yeah, I was doting a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
And now I have a chivolo here.
Well, you're kind of a giant, so I don't think
yeah.
that applies to most people.
Well, it would be nice. It would have been nice, but then you have to worry about all the simple things.
It's okay. We have 2 nice fans.
We have to.
Thank God.
Yeah, we just bought a second Sprinter, y'all. We're very happy about that.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
And then even with the physical stuff, speaking of machines, there's a machine maintenance that I have absolutely no idea like what to do with that stuff. And I don't think we even knew.
What happened is something breaks in the middle of an event, which we've seen it. and we've had to troubleshoot. I've been in several FaceTime calls with my baristas trying to figure out what happened. And it could be something super easy or it could be something hard. And sometimes, not all the time, sometimes just unplugging it and plugging it back in may solve it. But if it's something else, you need to know. So
Yeah.
very important, know your equipment, know what you're working with, and have an idea of how to troubleshoot it.
And I think with that, something that's helped us too is having multiple types of different machines so that worst case scenario, it like craps out, Israel's already there, like replacing it.
Rather than having multiple machines, it's having several machines, because we only use one type of espresso machine for the most part. We only use the La Marzocco Linea Mini as our primary espresso machine, right? And now for grinders, we are standardizing the Malconic E65 grind by time, because the grind by weight doesn't like to be moved around too much. So we're going to scratch that one. It's another grinder. But standardizing those things and knowing what happens. Now I know that there's different equipment's going to have its own little things that gets a little finicky. So once you get to know what can go wrong, you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
So, but going with that, it's so important to know what you're working with and what can go wrong, because when things go wrong and you have a line of 50 people wanting coffee, whew,
Troubleshooting mode.
yeah, it can get ugly. And,
Yeah.
and refunds and such, which we have had to issue refunds. We have had a couple of issues in which we...
But not for
swapped the
entire
machine.
events.
No, I mean, partial refunds, but also we've been quick to swap machines because we're prepared. We're not prepared for the worst, but just prepared to make a ton of events.
So what would you tell your day one self? What advice would you give for a
I think
new
I've said it
entrepreneur?
before, or I've told you definitely. I would tell myself quit a little earlier. You didn't want me to quit.
Yeah.
You were so scared.
Because, well, we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It is, but also, I mean, it's a calculated risk. But I already I extended my quitting date by months, 4 months. I think I wanted to quit in September, and I ended up quitting at the end of the year, in January. So, I mean, once you have a decision and you know that it's based on something, and we had a great year that year. And the year after, we had another great year. What would you tell yourself?
Well, I wanted to say, so this is your sign. If you're thinking about quitting your job to pursue your business, then take this as your sign. Do it. Go for it.
Aren't you thinking about quitting your...
Oh. Hey, we're live. They're going to watch.
We're not live.
Dustin, don't listen to that. I'm just kidding. They all know it's part of my plan in the future, just not right now.
No, I mean,
well, I don't know. When the time is right.
The idea,
yeah.
I would see it, because I can see when you want to, but then you're like, no, I can't do that right now. But
No,
you love your job so much, so
yeah,
I think you'll stick around for a little bit longer. I'm not pressuring you. Or am I?
This is my everyday, guys.
I just think that we will... I mean, I tell you all the time, but you're amazing at what you do. And if you put your efforts here, I know we'll grow.
Oh, for sure.
I know you won't stand me for a little bit.
Yeah, that's the biggest decision.
I'm going to talk about working with your...
Yes, that'll be for the next
that's going to be the next episode.
Yeah. Working with your significant other, how to make it work.
How to make it work with your beloved. A lot of patience. I need to have a lot of patience for this girl.
Whatever, bro. Okay, what I would tell my day one self is run for the hills. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, I would say entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted. There's a lot of work that comes with it. If you think that it's going to be like making your own time, I mean, it can be, just depending on what you to do, but in this business there's a lot of late nights, early mornings, and there's just so much work that goes into it, so many things behind the scenes. You're pretty much every single department all built in one. Your finance, your HR, you're an administrative assistant, you're everything. And so there's always a sacrifice that comes with launching your business. And so for us, it's like time.
Yeah.
And
the weekends, we don't have as much time because you work during the week. We hang out on nights, which is nice.
Yeah.
But the weekends are pretty much, I mean, although we have staff, there's still so many things that need to happen that we need to make sure
Yeah.
or that I need to be there for it to happen. But eventually,
Yeah.
that's the goal. That's what we're
That's what
building all this.
entrepreneurship's all about. So just, I guess, keep that in mind if you're like used to having a routine. This isn't a routine business.
Oh, no.
Every day is a different day. Every day there's a different issue or a different challenge, opportunity to tackle a challenge. So, but it's always fun.
Yeah, it comes in waves though. I've noticed that there's a period of time that you get a bunch of amazing opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen several events come in waves, and it's wonderful. And then the next week or so, we have several issues coming one after the other after the other. Mm-hmm. That's business, y'all.
It is. So on the next episode, we'll talk about marriage and work. So working with your spouse and how to make it work, but then also how to have patience and communicate.
I think how to separate both.
Yeah, how to separate it. That's the word.
We don't do it really well, but
no, we talk about the business all the time, but it's so much fun. Like we're both passionate about it. So,
yeah, it excites us though.
It does.
And we're doing this together.
Yay! So sweet. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's so dumb.
This podcast is sponsored by our coffee beans, the Golden Hour, which you can find on our website. And these beans are amazing to brew at home. You do need a grinder because they're amazing and super freshly roasted. So they come whole bean only. So you're going to have to grind them home, but they're perfect for your espresso machine. They're perfect for a pour over. If you want to pour over on a B60, this Colombian single origin is going to blow your mind.
And they're the same beans that we use at our events.